going on?
Let's do it.
Good day, family, wherever you are. This is Baba Ahnk and Baba Kwabena. We are here at a Kemites View, our normal Sunday commentary of news and what's going on in the world, particularly Africa and the African diaspora. So that's what we do here, and I welcome you and I thank you for watching, and leave likes, comments, and shares below. You'll see that in the YouTube program they have. So, Baba Kwabena, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. I was just kind of doing some stuff here that I needed to do that I had kept putting off, and I found myself in a organizational spirit.
Good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing. That's why I didn't see your earlier text, but so I'm not quite finished, but I've made considerable progress. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good about that.
Fantastic. Hey, you can look at the your glasses, and you do look fresh, bro. That's good.
Yeah,
you're looking stylish, bro.
Yep. I just got them done on Thursday, I guess. Got my beard and hair done. Trying to get ready for the weekend, and Father's Day is next week. Not that I'm going to do anything in particular. I'm going to celebrate me though, because I'm a father.
Right, and that should be every day, but that's a whole nother story there. I kind of shy away from a lot of these holidays because a lot of them are basically just made up by greeting card companies to get paid. And insidious nature of capitalism and pulling at the heartstrings and emotion and manipulating us with emotion is just amazing. And when you really understand it and break it down and see the type of control for money and materialism, it's mind-blowing, really. But I mean, a lot of us don't want to think about it, but that's it. That's the reality of it.
Very true. And what's interesting too about things like Father's Day and Mother's Day, they're celebrated worldwide. That one day a year, the same day that we celebrate here, they celebrate it around the world.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's not surprising, because if you look at the ubiquitous nature of American culture, which is basically running the world right now, of course they're going to follow what Americans do. We're the center of the empire. We're the Roman Empire. They're going to do what we do. Right.
I just found that fascinating when I was in Africa and they were celebrating Father's Day and Mother's Day, and I was like, really? I just thought it was an American thing. But
nah, they follow Americans, man. Whatever America do, they do. They think America, ice is colder for now. We'll see how long that lasts. But you got a new people on the block that's challenging, but it's the old people on the block. But the Russians are now trying to push into Africa way more so, and the Chinese, of course. We'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, that dynamic of picking a side of people to be on. Russians were never slave masters to Africans, not like British and French were. So they could appear to be more palatable than the others. But once again, the culture, American culture, because of movies and the like, just permeates Africa. It's kind of sickening in a way to think that they're so easily swayed. But
yeah, agreed.
Well, I'm gonna start off here in America here. The US just passed a bill, Ukraine bill, I guess maybe it was last week or so, but basically $40 billion to send to Ukraine. Now, you know how these guys work.
And that's in addition to what they've already sent.
There's so many levels to that and so many layers. I mean, you can look at it in so many levels, but just look at the money. And let's just think about what $40 billion is in real terms. $40 billion, that's a billion to a million is 1,000, right? So to get from a million to a billion, you have to multiply a million by 1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 1,000 millions, 40,000
Times
million
40.
dollars, huh?
Yes, that times 40.
No, I'm just saying that's 1,000 million,
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 million, 1,000 pounds of $1 million
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
times 40. So that's
Yeah.
40,000 piles of $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
What could $1 million do in the States when I look around and see homeless everywhere?
Right. Right.
Not
And
less, notwithstanding a billion, but go ahead.
no, and speaking of homeless, I was in the city over the weekend, and I just saw the homeless are just being pushed around everywhere. They're moving them. They're not providing housing for them or trying to help them, but they're arresting them. They're locking them up. They're taking all of their stuff, their belongings, and putting them in the dump. And so there's been some protests going on in the city against that because how the district is handling that. And so as I was walking through the city yesterday, I saw the displacement. I saw them in places that I hadn't seen them in before, because they're just trying to live, but nobody's trying to help them, right? But we helping the Ukraine. We helping Afghanistan.
They're helping Israel
Mm-hmm.
and other places they want to send it, at least on the surface they are. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, that money is kicked back and cycles back around. And we have to always keep in mind that we're dealing with the mind of a capitalist psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been taught to think that capitalism is good and socialism is bad. However, right, if you use your Kemetic mind, your black mind, and recognize that people teaching you this are liars, you may come to a different conclusion.
Yeah. You constantly have to check yourself before you buy into whatever's been said, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say on capitalism, and I've said this before, but it never hurts to reiterate. Capitalism is different from commerce. Mm-hmm. And we've been taught to think that the only systems are capitalists or socialists, communists, i.e. Soviet Union or whatever.
Yep.
Capitalism is good, socialism is bad.
Yep.
And a lot of us just don't understand it. We just fall into this duopoly, this binary thinking, just like Democrat, Republican, without looking at the fidelity and the differences. And just briefly, I just want to say that capitalism is the operating system of the European slave colonial project of the planet. And if we don't understand that and remember that and recognize that, then we are forever going to be behind. Capitalism is the problem. It's the operating system of our enslavement. So if you have a black person who's a capitalist or a white person, it doesn't matter. Chinese, doesn't matter. Capitalism is the problem, which I see different from commerce. Commerce is basic trade. You can do trade without capitalism. What capitalism requires is usury, interest on money, getting money because of money, which is unnatural. It is a violation of the natural world. You can't get 2 pieces of gold and put them 2 pieces of gold next to each other and put them in a drawer and come back in a year later and have a family of gold pieces in there. But if you put 2 mice or male and female mice in there and you come back in a year, that drawer providing food and sustenance, whatever, you come back, you have a nation of mice in that drawer. They'll repopulate. Material things do not grow upon their own. And that's the inherent problem with capitalism. It's an abstraction of giving life to material goods. So we exalt materialism. Capitalism is exaltation of materialism.
That's a great analogy.
What I'm saying? Yeah, and that's the problem. And that's
great
the materialism of our culture.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, well, I need to have this and get interest on it and it's fine. Well, I mean, okay, you can think that way. That's how we've been trained. That's how I was trained. But when you really start analyzing it, you see that it's not good and it's terrible and we need to change it. But I don't say you don't have commerce. I think you need commerce, which is the umbrella or the analogy of fruit to apple. So commerce is the overall economic engine that drives or that describes what happens through human interaction. And then you have capitalism, which is a subset of commerce. So anyway, that's just where I'm at. If you guys have any questions out there or comments, please put them in the comment section. Do you have anything else on that commerce versus capitalism thing? Because I think it's very important for us to delineate and just get into the fidelity of understanding that, because it's really bad. Anyway, anything, brother?
No, I don't have anything. I mean, you said it all.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to keep it to a minimum. I kind of get a chance to, or I should say, I kind of have a tendency to get a little long with gum flapping. So I want to minimize the gum flapping.
Okay.
But this, just dovetailing this Ukrainian bill, I was reading someplace where it said of the $40 billion, only $6 billion is actually going to Ukraine.
Oh, so where's the rest of it going?
U.S. contractors and other bills. In fact, there's a provision in the bill for Biden himself to get 17 million. I guess that's that'll keep his son and, who's a crackhead and chasing hoes, which, that's what he do. But 17 million and keep him in plenty of Putin for a while.
Wow.
A lot of blow. You can buy a lot of blow for 17 million. But anyway, there's the corruption in the bill. CIA is getting somewhere like 10 billion. I mean, it's just filled with pork and fat, and that's the American legislative system, which democracy allows for puppets to control in the background and get paid. That's what democracy is. If we don't have a vigilant populace.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, that's enough. And then finally, Ukraine is getting waxed. They're going to be suing for peace, I think, within the next month.
Well, that's not what the media is saying.
Of course not. But these are the same folks that will be on the Titanic when it doesn't hit that iceberg. And everything is like, okay, it ain't quite hit the point of no return. It's still floating. So they keeping the music playing in the upper rooms. They done already locked down the basement or like the lower areas, so that the people who were down there who were just paying transport, not the exclusive people, they're basically locked in jail. So they're going down with the ship. They can't even get out. They don't have enough lifeboats for everybody. And they're letting the music play while the ship is about ready to go down. So they want to keep you dancing and singing to the final moment. That's what's going on in Ukraine. It's going to be a day when it's just going to flip. You know how they do the narrative, like they switched from the shot to the Ukraine war, and then they're going to shift to something else. It's all about keeping that mind flipping. But yeah, they're losing, and they're talking about, I don't know, from stories I've been watching, Russia wants to basically take the whole southern portion of Ukraine all the way to Transnistria. I forget that country that's over there, but take Odessa, all that, so Ukraine won't have access to the Black Sea. Russia gonna take all that and turn it back into Russia, because it's always been Russia. Let's not forget ourselves. Ukraine is a new creation. It's only been there since independently since 1990s, when the Russia,
when the wall came down.
When USSR fell, that's when Ukraine as a country was created. Prior to that, it was just a organizational division of the Soviet Union. It was part of the Soviet Union, just like Ohio is to the US or Florida is to the US, just a state within the Soviet Union. And prior to that, it was ruled by Poles. Portions of at least the Western Ukraine was ruled by Poles and other groups. So it's not been its own country forever since 1990. Prior to 1990, it was always part of something else. So it's going to go back to that. But they want to keep us ignorant of a lot of those facts going on. Any comments, brother?
No, I know that the U.S. has they're all in the middle of this for their own selfish reasons. Let me turn this off. And and that's why they're putting so much behind this, because of their selfish reasoning, and what they want to see outcome, because they want to have access, like you said, to the particular sea. And then Russia, is that Russian oil line goes through the Ukraine, and so Russia also wants to continue, having that flow. But if Ukraine is aligned with NATO, they can kind of control some of the flow of that oil to impact Russia, and when they want to put pressure on Russia. So there are all these different things that some we know and some we don't know that are happening in the background, behind why NATO and the US has such a presence and an interest in helping this, because they don't do this for Africa.
No, and it's interesting. We can segue Russia into Africa. Well, I guess I just want to say that Ukraine's losing the war for sure, and that they want to pressure Russia because Russia is an alternative model to the usury model. Russia is more about taking care of their people more so than what's going on in the US and the West, as we just talked about all the homeless here and all that money being sent overseas. When they can put the money right here and help the people here. They're not helping the people, which is the primary role of government. So it's failing in its primary role. The US government is failing, and it's being shown with the homeless and other things going on. But in the Russia UN thing, well, Russia and the UN are having a row, which goes back to the US-Russia war, because Russia is coming at the US. The US doesn't want to see Russia strong, so they are attacking Russia in different ways. And Russia is getting back at them by making alliances with the South, not a line movement. So African countries, South American countries, they're aligning with Russia to go against the US, the big usury colonial project out of Europe, which is continuing with the US as the rabid dog running it.
Right.
Russia's kind of against it in a way. So you've got these other countries in South America and Africa going and voting against that, and Russia's protecting them. Like in Mali, the UN wanted to sanction Mali. Well, Russia and China blocked the sanctions because they're on the Security Council. So they're kind of protecting us, in a sense, Africans, from the wrath of the US and basically the bankers out of London, because that's who runs the show. But no, so it's kind of, in a way, it's interesting and good. Will they have a nuclear war? What are your thoughts on that? Because the people are saying, "Oh, we're going to run into a nuclear war with Russia." What do you think?
I don't know that we'll necessarily end up there, because I mean that could be catastrophic, on so many levels, and worldwide. And nobody's has got that much ego where they would, where they wouldn't think rationally about starting that, because once it's started and everybody jumps on board, man, it'd be horrible. It'd be absolutely horrible. So I don't think that the universe is going to allow it, actually. So because there is still a supreme being who's managing things, and though we have a lot of freedom and free will in how we operate, what we do, I don't think that it'll go that far. I don't know. That's just my thought.
I agree with you. I don't think it's going to go that far. I think but
that doesn't mean that they're not going to make it seem like it's going to go that far, because it's all about mind control, right?
Right.
And get people all freaked out so that people will conform.
I think also fear. They like people to be in fear because the entities, this is another show, another time we could talk about it, but these entities we call ETs or angels, whatever, who have been with us from the beginning, they feed off of human fear
Mhm.
and confusion and uncertainty. So
Mhm.
I think the government's, my theory, conspiracy theory, uh, is that these governments, Baphomet type, devil worshiping, aligned people that talk about Illuminati and all that. But I think there is a class of entities that are just beyond our taste and touch, who are spiritual, who basically also serve as extraterrestrials. There's no little green men per se, but these are actual spirit entities who exist. And if you look at through history, they've always been there, and different texts discuss how these people want to see humanity not developing itself to its full potential and being afraid and frightened, wars, murder, death. And when we're frightened like that, we emit a particular frequency that these
Mhm.
people feed off of.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
archons,
Yep.
demons,
Yep.
jinn, call them whatever, they're entities who a lot of these leadership of the world are aligned with, and they make sacrifice to them of these wars. So when you murder people like that, you're basically feeding crack to the entities, and
Mhm.
they in turn give you, the leaders, the ones who run the show, some type of advantage over others. So I kind of think that's what's going on. That's a long way off of the topic here, but I think Russia is not as much aligned with them as the West is, the US,
Right.
London, and the like. And that's part
Agreed.
of the problem too. But said all that to say, God is still in control, the creator is still in control, and we won't have a war. I think they'll take us to the limit, but it's not going to happen
Yeah.
for a variety of reasons. One of them
Yeah.
being their own selfishness and their own protection of themselves. They don't want to die.
Mhm. 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 And at some point, there will be some type of reconciliation so that things can shift. I mean, because that there's always been this push for this one world order.
Right. Well, the Europeans have pushed it under capitalists. That's
Yeah.
been the push.
Yep.
Let's be
Yep.
clear. It's the capitalist uh models, the next phase of the European colonial world domination project of capitalism. That's what
Mhm.
the New World Order is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What were you gonna say though? Go ahead. Let's push for a world, one world, or New World,
Yeah. Well,
whatever.
I'm just saying that there'll be some reconciliation because it's not going. They're going to push it to a point, and then all of a sudden things are going to collapse and come into some type of an agreement, an alignment to make it more palatable to move forward. And everybody's not going to get what they want, but they'll come to some consensus about how things will be handled moving forward. And then, of course, all of that is in line with the control that they want to have over us, over the people, taking advantage and abusing the people to a greater degree. You know, so
Right.
it would behoove us to be to know ourselves,
Right.
therefore knowing our gods.
Right.
Yeah. So we won't be caught up in it.
And then know our divinity and then know our power.
Yes.
So because as
Yes.
long as we just Negroes or we just US citizens, or I'm just a Christian, or I'm just a Muslim and not a divine being from the creator with
Mm-hmm.
the power to create, then we're just basically chattel.
Yeah.
We're, sheep or dogs or
Right.
bovines, we're just chattel.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important for us to come into our divinity. And that's why we discuss these topics here. As we go through the world topics, we try and weave everything together, and at least make it interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
I think we're moving to that, and that's what these people in power fear, the materialists. Excuse me, oh, disappeared there. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what the materials fear. Materialist capitalists fear. They fear us, the rise of spiritualism and our divine selves. But
Mm-hmm.
you can't stop it.
You can't stop it. Right. Right.
It's the wave
And
of the universe, huh?
it is. And the universe again is not going to allow. The universe is not going to allow certain things. There's got to be the balance, right? So you can't. As much as they try to take over it all, they'll never succeed at it because
Yeah,
it's because it's law. It's spiritual law that there has to
spiritual
be.
law.
Yeah.
rights, and they can't override that, even though they want you to think that they can, which is part
Right.
of their power, is the
Right.
mind control.
Right.
Get everybody,
Right.
you control the people's mind, then you got them where you want them to be, and that's their best power play. As they
Right.
mind control us with these shots and wars and fear and all that. They're trying to push us through, but they're not going to be successful. They're losing, in fact. That's why they're doubling down. And now we got a monkey. We got the monkey. What is it?
The monkey virus.
Yeah,
Monkey
monkey
pox.
virus. I kind of don't want to really say that too much here. You know how those folks be on YouTube. But I want to call it something else. I'm trying to think of something else more creative. The monkey see, monkey do. The monkey see, monkey do. We got the monkey see, monkey do come just like the other one. We had the shot prior to. Now they come back with the remix of the monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see,
you know,
that monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, it's the remix of the previous one, the shot, the monkey see, monkey do. We're gonna line up and get shot up with that now. Become a monkey. But moving on our topic on news, you know, we had talked, or at least me and you had talked about how Rwanda, the president, what's his name, Kagame, had looked at being an asylum place for London or for England. So people who went into England illegally, they will be shipped down to Rwanda. And we were talking about that and why Kagame would do that. I don't have a clue. I can speculate on a lot of topics, but they brought a lawsuit, some people in London, to stop, or England, to stop him from, or stop England from shipping people down to Rwanda, but it was blocked. So the people are going to be shipped down to Rwanda from England. So what are your thoughts on that?
So before I give you my thought on that, I did see something. I didn't read the full article. I saw something, I want to say yesterday or the day before, that people were complaining, the people that have already been sent to Rwanda, because some have already been sent, and how the article stated that they were living in these deplorable conditions. They didn't have enough food, that Rwanda wasn't taking care of them like what they were told, and how difficult it was. And again, I don't know the source of that article, and I have to go back and try to find it. But I got distracted and didn't finish reading it. And so I don't know. Again, not only did England pay Rwanda to do this, you know, there's some money involved, right?
Oh yeah.
But also he had requested, and I think I mentioned this before, Kagame had requested that they release this guy who was involved in the apartheid, so he could come back to Rwanda for trial. And so they got that out of the deal. And so my thought is, well, maybe he's doing this play just to get this guy out, and that, you know, knowing that people probably wouldn't show up in Rwanda like the UK was trying to, you know, wanting it to happen. Yet he got paid and he got his guy that he wanted to prosecute for criminal court. So I don't know. I mean, because he's doing some very smart things. I mean, all this whole Eastern African Federation deal, I mean, that's very smart. And that's very pro-Africa, Pan-African. The relationship that he's building with the Caribbean, to have direct flights from the Caribbean to Rwanda. I mean, that's, all of these things are very Pan-African things, pro-African things that we need to see and need to happen. And so, I don't know. We never know the full story of what's in the mind of a man and what he's doing when he's in power. I mean, we see the manifestations of some of the decisions that are made, but we don't know the fullness of you know, what's behind at the deeper level, why they do some of the things that they do. So so you acknowledge and give gratitude for those things that benefit the whole, that benefit us as a Black people to arise, that benefit Africa. And then quite naturally, there are going to be some stuff that won't benefit, but if the idea is that whatever those good benefits are, that they would outweigh the negatives. Right.
Right. Right. So yeah, we just gotta be thankful that he is making those ties to Africa and trust that his plan with the British is, some 3D chess action going on, and it's much more than just, it could be just a payoff, but it may be some other things. And I think if a lot of those people are black, them being sent to Rwanda could be a benefit. I don't know.
Right. True. Very true. And that was my thought.
It could be a benefit too. They may find new lives and so forth in Rwanda, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and try to find that article, and so I can read more of it to be and kind of verify some of the content of it. I think it was speaking specifically about non-African people that had been sent to Rwanda. But again, I need to find the article to read it in clarity and in totality to see what's actually going on. And once I find it, I'll forward it on to you.
Yeah, that'd be good. Right. So I'm going to move on down to, speaking of asylum seekers, the ICC, International Criminal Court, and I need to come up with a better acronym for that to be more descriptive, but basically it doesn't apply to a lot of the big powers. Like the US is not part of the International Criminal Court, which Israel is not a part of. And I don't think London or Europe, I don't think England is, or Russia, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway, I know the US is not part of it, but they surely round up Negroes and African leaders and others who are part of it. Like I'm reading here where the ICC acquits Ivory Coast's Blé Goudé because they said he was doing crimes against humanity. So they've done that for other African leaders. Also, when they want to come down on them for whatever reason, you get an ICC verdict and boom, you pick them up, and basically you got a show trial and you hang them high, but only the black people, only the African.
Right.
That doesn't apply to the United States and Israel, and I think London. It's really just such a sham. That whole ICC. While we think law and order is good, but these people don't function with law. It's always something outside the law. We forget the privateers or the pirates that London segued into basically a multi-billion-dollar empire using pirates, right?
Right.
Secret agent men. You go out there and rob that Spanish galleon that's filled with gold doubloons that they robbed from the Incas and the Mayas and other folks down there and other Africans they worked to death. You rob them of their gold, and then if you get caught, we'll deny you. You're just a pirate, ungodly, terrible terrorist. But hopefully you'll make it, and then we'll split the reward.
Split the bounty.
That's how they worked it, huh?
Split the bounty.
The bounty. Split the booty, so to speak.
Yeah.
We're going to split the booty. Literally. Anyway, that's privateers and the pirates. That's what made London strong.
Right.
The whole capitalist model, it functions on that. Actually, we go back to capitalism. Capitalism functions on thievery, theft, exploitation, and death. It has to have it in order to grow, because what you're doing is, once again, getting away from the creator, the creative energy, and you're exalting materialism, stuff. A particular vibratory frequency of existence now is higher than anything else. That's what we're saying with capitalism and this whole privateers, pirates, and all this other foolishness, to get kind of esoteric on us. Okay, another switching gears here. Belgian king goes to
the Congo.
Congo, right?
Yeah.
And he says this regretful and terrible and sorry. No, he doesn't say sorry. It's unfortunate events.
Right.
But he does not apologize.
Right.
And more importantly, he does not give back, using the pirate term, the booty.
Right. Exactly. I saw that. I saw that. And then there was something about Lumumba's tooth that they were in possession of when they killed him, and they're giving the tooth back.
Oh my God.
He didn't bring the tooth with him, but they're sending the tooth back.
Why would it be there in Portugal? Or no, what is it? Belgium. Why would it be in Belgium?
Belgium. It's in Belgium because Belgium had him assassinated, and the guy, whoever assassinated him, pulled one of his teeth and took it back to Belgium.
Kind of like bounty. Like,
Yeah.
you cut off an ear
Yeah.
of an animal
Yeah.
or
Yeah, a trophy.
a trophy, cut off a foot, to go collect your money to show that he's really dead.
Yeah. So this
Wow.
tooth is in Belgium, and he mentioned it in his speech in the Congo, saying that the tooth was coming back. Well, it's like, well, okay, if that was so important to you, why didn't you bring it with you? It's just a tooth. It's nothing, right? And so it's just interesting because you know what was his name?
I can't remember the guy's name. Belgian king or the Belgian president.
The one who cut off members of people's hands and legs and bodies, and to try to make Africans submit. And
you're talking about Leopold II.
Leopold, yeah.
Yeah, he used to cut hands off, feet, body parts, if you didn't make enough rubber for him, because he had to get paid.
Right.
I got to get paid. Y'all got to work. I'm sorry about your problems and whatnot. And you ain't gonna need that hand if I don't get my sack of rubber like I'm supposed to have. I want you to know that. I mean, just straight gangster, man.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, hundreds of years later, after they done got fat and filthy rich, we're not sorry about Lumumba, but it did happen, and it's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate that I got rich off murdering y'all, destroying your country, keeping y'all smashed down. But here's a tooth for you from the guy that we murdered who was trying to kick us out. Here's a tooth. What?
It's crazy.
And let's not forget that the involvement of the CIA and J. Edgar Hoover and all those clowns over here with, I've been listening to Dr. Gerald Horne. He's talking about settler colonialism, and it's interesting just to get the mindset of these people. But that's what's going on. But like I said, they're not giving back the money.
Well, if they officially apologize, I think Dr. Mooney said this. If they officially apologize, then that would be taking responsibility for what they did and acknowledging that it's true that they did all those horrible things, and that they would have to pay reparations. They've got to give stuff back, and that would bankrupt them. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're still trying to have that relationship, to still exploit, so they can continue to build their kingdoms. That's what all of them are doing. So none of them will ever apologize. But there's a new push for reparations here in the U.S. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. How long have we been trying to do this? And the U.S. is the same. They've never apologized. They let the past be the past. That's what they tell us. But that was our forefathers, and that doesn't apply to us. Yeah, it does. You're living off of our money. It's still our money, no matter when you took it. It's still ours because it was handed down to you. It's still all the wealth that has been accumulated here. It still belongs to Black people. And so, but it is what it is, and that's why we go on and we do what we do. And again, know ourselves, therefore knowing our God, and walk in who we're created to be.
Right.
That's the better option.
100%, and to ask for it, request it, whatever, but recognize that it's probably not going to come, because that's not what capitalist settler colonialism does. When they steal from the native peoples, they don't give it back. You're going to have to take it back. There would not be any reparations or whatever without any type of force from divine powers and that could be, you know, groups of people making sure acted in the state under the direction of the creator to restore balance, to restore ma'at. But it's not going to be the devils willingly giving up their booty. They're
Right.
not giving it up.
Right.
And so for people to think it's going to come, I think it's just folly. It never happens. You got to look at Haiti and the Haitian model. That's it. Unless and until we learn the lesson of Haiti, then we're going to forever be in woe and all this. Anyway, moving on to other topics. Going back to Mali, there the government is supposedly to go back to democratic government in 2 years. They're going to write a new constitution and all that.
Oh, really?
That's what they said, and that's under pressure from the UN and all that. But that's what they're saying now, because you know all their borders are blocked with the other African countries, right?
Right.
Nigeria, getting into Nigeria a little bit. I just saw a couple stories. The gunmen, a lot of attacks. You know, I saw where a church got shot up, and people, they blew the roof off of it, talking about tear the roof off the sucker. But they blew the church roof up. I think it was dynamite.
The mother sucker, not the
mother
sucker.
sucker.
The mother sucker.
Man, that's a new interpretation of that. At some church in Nigeria, it's terrible. Then once they blew the roof off the sucker, they ran in there and shot the folks who were hiding under the pews and whatnot in their feet. So straight terror campaign. And they said it was jihadists, Muslim jihadists in alliance with local militias. And I'm like, okay. And then another thing, another one, they surrounded the train and shot it up and killed people. And then had people in, as hostage for a while. Then they let them go. But these are still the same groups. And I'm like, okay, you're saying it's Muslim extremists. Oh yeah, getting back to the church. They did happen to show the white Jesus in the church.
Oh no.
So I was shocked. I mean, these Africans, man, they be having these white Jesuses and loving it. And they're just like, okay, that's where they are. And hopefully they'll come out of that foolishness, but they're in it strong. But I want to just say that a digression. But the Nigeria, big country, lot of resources, millions and millions of people. If they got their act together, they could be one of the world leaders in a variety of topics. But if they stay a basket case in fighting, they can never become and realize their power. Who benefits from Nigeria being a basket case?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And again, a lot of what's happening, I mean, the root of it still stems from colonialism.
Exactly.
Every problem that exists, it stems from colonialism.
Right.
And it's like, but those who are the products of that colonialism can't seem to see clearly enough to recognize that this is why we're here. And in order to change that, we have to change how we see things and how we do things and unify in that, and so I don't know, it's as I learn more about how African spiritual science works, being a Kemite, as my brother Baba affectionately calls ourselves.
Right, that's what we are. We're modern day Kemites, bro.
Yeah, and it's like, unless you understand those principles and apply them, then you remain stuck, and you remain under the foot of that system that's still in place. It's just they just switched it up a little bit to make it look like it's different. But colonial stilism is still in operation today, and it's going to be. It's going to be.
Just like capitalism or the systems that they put in place since colonialism, since the World Economic Project, the European colonial capitalist system they put in place is not left. It's still here. It's just going through upgrades. It's like when you got your your Windows computer, whatever, you get version 1.0.
Those double pane windows, insulated windows.
Exactly.
Now, instead of paint, we got some new siding.
Right.
And then we put some solar panels on for electric.
Right. But that's all. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just upgrade. So as long as the colonial project is in play, it will still occur. And the biggest thing is to once again keep the minds controlled. Because I've heard Nigerians speak about the problem is corruption, and it is a problem. But these people are ultimately controlled by bankers and other corrupt folks in England and Holland and America. Right, they're still there and they're making things happen. Getting back to Nigeria, where did these Muslim fundamentalists come from? Who's financing them? And who has a history of using Muslim fundamentalists, whatever, terrorists in to destabilize countries? Can we forget Syria? Do we forget Syria just as the most recent one? Afghanistan, where they openly admitted it, used it against the Soviet Union. And then you had Libya that fell, and then all those weapons came down there. Who's running this? It's the same people. These Muslims who say that they're terrorists, whatever, they drinking on the weekends, whatever, doing whatever thing they're big enough and able to do, that's not in cahoots with Islam, but yet they're getting a paycheck to go destabilize Nigeria because the bankers and other multinational corporations who are exploiting Nigeria just get that much fatter. And they want to keep war and homelessness and the like going on. And so now that you have Black folks driving the bus, now the Negroes in Nigeria are confused. They don't see the true enemy. They see the Negro bus driver who's taking them down the road, and don't understand who owns the bus, and who hired the bus driver, and who's actually giving him direction on what to do. We just blame Black folks, and now all of a sudden the pathologies is inwardly focused, and now it's not the greater picture of what's actually going on. But that bus driver, he don't know where he going. He don't know what he doing. He terrible. Instead of saying, okay, look at the system. What's actually going on? Anyway.
Right.
Just a digression. So we're going to move to closer to home here. We're going to look at Colombia. They got an election going on down there, right? And they're going to have a runoff. And it said that there's two candidates primarily, Rodolfo Hernandez and this guy Petro. I can't remember his first name. Let me see. But basically, it's down to Petro and Hernandez. So what's interesting about Petro is that he was basically a guerrilla with the FLNA, I believe it is. And Hernandez was the former mayor of a big city down there. And he wants to basically run the same colonial project and be a flunky of the US and the like. But the other guy is a little bit more socialist. And in fact, he has a Black woman as his vice president. And that's the first time there's been a Black woman running as vice president in Colombian history. And, Black people in Colombia, South American, Spanish American mindset of Blackness, but I think they're a little bit more conscious of it in Colombia in some circles. So it's interesting to see that occur. Now, on one hand, I'm kind of torn because my business interests don't want to see this guy Petro in power. But on the other hand, the Hernandez, I like that for the people. I think it's for the people, will be better for him. But the people are saying he's going to collapse the economy and turn it into, Venezuela, which I'll and just say because he's like Chavez. What's interesting about that analysis is just it's so simplistic because why is Venezuela suffering right now? Can we say sanctions? The U.S. has sanctions all over them, and they're suffering because of the Western implementation of payback, basically, because they had the temerity to kick out the ruling elites who were beholden to the West, and then make them
Right.
suffer. And it's their fault. They have oil, which is the most important commodity on the planet, but they
Right.
can't
Right.
trade it like they should.
Yep.
But you saw where Biden went down there with his tail tucked between his legs to ask for Venezuelan oil after they've been dogging Venezuela for years. Stole the gold. They had, billions of dollars worth of gold in the vaults. The U.S. took it, and London, they won't give it back to him. And now he down there trying to get them to pump more oil since they shut off Russia. It's like these people are incompetent. It's like, are they really this confused, or is
Right.
this a
Right.
plan? And I don't know. What do you think?
Um, it's the colonizer doing what the colonizer does. So again, they don't do wrong. They just have misfortunate things that happen between us, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about what's going on in Somalia and the oil.
No.
So they found new oil in Somalia,
Okay.
and so there was a big meeting in London about Somalia's oil, but Somalia wasn't in London.
Okay. Do we say the Conference of Berlin, 1885 again?
Something like that.
Right.
And so, but Chevron was in London. And so what happened was, I'm surprised you haven't heard about this. So the Somalian president denied the US to come in and to do, what is it they do, like exploration?
Exploratory drilling, whatever,
Yeah.
just to see
Yeah.
what's there.
The president has been replaced. And now the US can go in.
Wow.
I mean, it happened so quickly. I mean, within a couple of weeks, all of a sudden the current president was pulled out. And now a new president is put in place. Now the US can go in and do the exploratory drilling.
Well, let's see how successful they are. I guess it's off coast, so it's off coast, offshore.
Yeah, it's offshore.
In Somalia, that whole
Yeah.
region of Eastern Africa, they have oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna see that's the scramble. Just like they got rid of that leader in Tanzania who was against the shots, and the mask and whatnot. Magufuli.
Magufuli.
Yeah, and he did the testing, and he didn't want that that going on. He conveniently had a heart attack.
Yeah.
So then
the new president opened up the floodgate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they started writing on the wall. I'm trying to look up to see who these candidates are because I don't want to disrespect that woman's name. Yeah, that's kind of all I have right now. Do you have anything else you want to relate on? We're getting close to our hour mark that I said we want to stay at.
Right. No, nothing in particular. I'm just I'm excited about my reorganization in my house. Interesting in line with that, I had actually been having conversations with my inner being about my lack of organization and needing to do something different. So it's inspiring, it's uplifting to know that. I mean, I even organized my refrigerator and my food in a way that I hadn't done before. I found all these hacks to help. Being a vegetarian, buying a lot of eating a lot of raw foods and not eating meat, stuff can spoil quickly. But I found all these hacks to help the life of my food extend. And so I've applied.
Your vegetables spoil quickly?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you certain things, like for instance, you buy strawberries, if you don't eat them like in a week, then they start mildewing, right?
Even in the fridge?
Yeah. So, and that's organic, because I don't buy regular stuff. But I found these hacks. Now my strawberries last for a month if I don't eat. My
What do you do?
lettuce lasts. I put everything in glass jars with a lid, with a seal, and the air is what's doing it, keeping the air out of it.
Huh. That's
So
interesting.
I don't care what it is, what fruit it is, what vegetable it is, it lasts. It doesn't go bad, and I'm just so excited because you don't waste money, you know. And you know the cost of food is just going crazy with what's happening in the economy.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic right there. But
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
with regards to food, I find that I usually when I get vegetables and fruits, I wash them off in baking soda, water, let them soak for a minute to try to get some of the toxins off as much as possible.
And stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and then I found that if you actually put lemon juice on it, it lasts a lot longer. You put it in a sealed bag, like what you're saying, but basically the same principle because the lemon juice serves as an antioxidant and keeps the oxygen away, and the oxygen is what makes it go bad. So to your point, I think if you tried a little bit of lemon juice in those jars with the stuff, it'll make it last better
Even longer.
still. Right.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, I'll have to
Just
try
an
that.
aside. Yeah. So I wanted to say something else, but no, I think we're pretty much at the end. But yeah, once again, hopefully we're gonna close this out here. And
Oh, and by the way, that food hack was for free.
huh?
The food hack, that was for free.
Oh yeah. Well, I just want to say about the so-called inflation, what they're saying, what's going on. Inflation is just the basic principle of economics, which I think is probably the only principle in economics that's real. The rest of it is just it's not a science. It's just gangs running their programs, but that is supply and demand, and that's what's going on right now. The U.S. government is printing billions and trillions of dollars out of thin air, and I saw something where they are missing 23 to 25 trillion dollars. The U.S. government.
Really?
They just don't know where it is. They lost $21 trillion.
No.
We don't know where it went. Really? That's called corruption.
Right.
I mean, to put this in focus, going back to my little analogy about the what a billion is. Then we go to a trillion, which is 1,000 billions. So you're talking about a million pallets, because 1,000 times 1,000 is a million. So you go from a million to a billion, that's 1,000. Then from billion to a trillion, that's another 1,000. So you're talking about 1,000 times 1,000 is a million. So you're talking about a million pallets of $1 million. So if you have a pile of $1 million, you have 1 million of those piles of $1 million, and that's a trillion. So they don't have just 1 trillion. They have 21 million piles of $1 million that they just can't find.
Right.
We just lost these $1 million piles. We don't know where they are. Really? Corruption, bro. Anyway, we're gonna end on that, and with love and gratitude to the family, the audience who have listened. We thank you for your time, and once again, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe, and a thumbs up. And thank you for your time, and we wish you love and gratitude and a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.
All right. Love and gratitude to you too, bro.
All right, man. Peace. I'm closing it out.